these are all things about standardization. This LOINC code was very, very difficult in the beginning, and we didn't have to do it. But again, the question was, what have we done to promote HIE? And we did it, and we tied these lab codes into a standardization so they can be shared across the industry, so that when our doctors pull up a lab and they say, geez, when has this patient ever had a CBC? Well, whether it came from Quest or LabCorp or Holy Spirit or Pinnacle, it doesn't matter. Over a period of time, when the doctor pulls it up, they don't really care where it came from. They care, did it go up, down? I'll show you a little bit of that too. SNOMED's another one. To be very honest, I don't understand that much about SNOMED. It's not what I do all the time, but back at our main office, our R&D guys think it's the most important thing in the world. Our programmers, everything we're doing, facilitating communication and interoperability. This is taking the medical language and making them all tie in together, so it doesn't matter who or where the doctor is, that standard of communication is there so they all understand. Now, continuity of care document, this is kind of an interesting one too, and again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but in 20 minutes I can cover a lot. My wife commonly says 1,000 words or less on a subject because I'll go off into nowhere, but I'm going to try and stay focused. Continuity of care document, what that is, and I'm going to be showing you just a picture of one, that is a standardized document that says, okay, well, if I'm the patient and I say to the doctor, you know, I'm moving to San Diego, and can I have my records? This is something where I'm going to be able to take this summary of my information, and they should be able to plug it in and download it right into their electronic medical record. Now, I refer to a lot of things because CCHIT has been very, very important to us. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk about it here shortly, but everybody has heard over a period of time what HIPAA. Well, I believe that CCHIT is the HIPAA for the next 10 years. Now, perhaps after listening this morning, CCHIT is going to be part of a bigger picture that's going to be HIPAA. HIPAA has kind of driven what's gone on in the industry. HL7 standards, I mean, these are things where, again, what are we doing to promote HIE? This is something where for CCHIT certification, I'm guessing that most of the people know what that is, but that's the kind of the brass ring in certification for us. But there's all sorts of things that we have to do. We have a lot of programmers that focus all year long just on this CCHIT certification. And part of this, one of the things that the gentleman I'm with, George, mentioned to me a minute ago, well, we just went from HL7 2.3 to 3.0. That's great, and it costs $50,000 to buy the right to use it. Well, it's not chicken feed. $50,000 is a lot of money, but we know how important it is. Well, we could do it in the 2.3, but we need 3.0 to be certified. We also, for years, have spent a lot of time interfacing with PACS systems. That's digital x-rays where perhaps the hospital has digital MRI, digital x-rays. The doctor's in the chart with a PACS interface. They can kind of hit a button and say, I want to see the x-rays for this patient that are at the hospital. And I'm not going to say it's like a silver bullet, but it's similar where maybe there's a VPN tunnel into the hospital, and with that one click, it's going to pull up the patient's x-rays, a list of them. Again, back to the same thing, standardization, cooperation. Cooperation is a real important one, especially with the hospitals. You know, they have to want to help the doctor. They have to want to do those interfaces for labs and documents. I'm going to talk about that a little bit because we've been very, very proactive out there, but everyone needs to understand it costs the hospitals money too to do all this. It costs us money, it costs the hospitals, but if we can work together, we can have a really wonderful, seamless interface so that when the doctor has their chart, they're not worrying about who took care of it. It's there for them in real time. CCHIT, docket, health maintenance, disease management, just having access to this stuff. I'm going to talk, the last thing I'm going to do when I hit the end of this is I'm going to talk about just a brief story where health maintenance, probably saved a patient's life. And the doctor who sent us this story, he's a med-ed doctor, of course, but he said, oh, I've got hundreds of examples like this, and I'm going to show it to you. And I see it all the time, all the time. Just having the data available is very, very important. Now, we're moving on to the next level where, because we have e-prescribing and we have these national pharmacy files, and part of this is tying the allergies. There never used to be a national allergy type listing, something that standardized them, and one practice would type in PEN, another would type penicillin, and another would spell it wrong, and you just couldn't tie them all accurately together. Now they have taken that on to another level where there is some standardization there. It's a first step. But the idea is, if I'm the doctor and I prescribe something for you and there's a reaction, I want to seamlessly have that become an allergy that when I send my continuity of care document out to some hospital or wherever, or I push that out to the pulmonologist or the oncologist. This is that seamless interface that we're talking about and all hoping for and looking for. But when I push that out, I want that information to populate into their system as the proper allergy, the proper meds, the SIGs and strengths, all very, very important. Electronic lab and document routing, two of my favorite parts of the system. And I'll tell you why electronic labs is one of my favorite parts. It goes back to that big pile of charts we were talking about. This saves practices time and money day one. It's a wonderful thing, and it's kind of a symphony of performance between the hospital and Quest and LabCorp and any national labs or any their own in-house labs. I mean, all of these, without standardization, we wouldn't have been able to do any of these things. Then we get on to some of the stuff like moving on to like a patient portal. That's another, moving information. We want to be able to have the patient, okay, I schedule you for an appointment. Here's your key. Please go to our website and fill in your information. I can't tell you how many doctors have told me, well, the patient's out there in the waiting room and they're filling out the history sheet, and if it's someone like me, I couldn't tell you anything about anybody in my family and their history of meds, or I just don't know it. So the doctors will tell you that a lot of times those information sheets are incomplete. But if I have an online setup where they can go in and fill it out, I mean, a lot of people do online banking. They're doing, most people I know do now. But all of that information can start being gathered in. And then on top of it, let's say I'm an orthopedic doctor, and you're the primary care doctor. You might be able to go right onto that site and see, oh, well, there's a 4 o'clock appointment on Thursday. That's good. And they allow you to schedule that right on their system, depending on your relationship with them. But if you can imagine the amount of man or person hours and time and phone time that just alleviates. That's a real wonderful thing. I'm going to go on to how am I doing time-wise? Anybody know?
3 minutes.
You're kidding me. All right, I'm going to just hit the button here and whip past this. All right, all right, so very quickly, driving our agenda. I'm just going to zip through these. CCHIT, I can't say enough about it because, to be honest, I feel it's brought all of the vendors up. It's really raised the bar. I can't even imagine how much money it's cost us, but I'm going to skip through those items because I want to hit on to something else. Very important. How can an EHR assist the doctor? Because that's what everyone, I saw that one picture right in the middle is the doctor and the patient. Real-time data. Well, when I look at this, like a little ways down, this is a health maintenance disease management screen that just pops up if the doctor wants it to, or they can click on it. But what it does is a real-time analysis of the patient's chart. Red is due. That's an alert. And it's bringing in, see that red bar up there with a 50? Well, that's telling me their HDL was greater than 35. As a matter of fact, on 6/14, it was 50. That means something to the doctor. Doesn't mean anything to me. But I'm smart enough to be able to look at that and say, that's something I need to look at. It's important. And approaching or not do things that they've had done. Electronic lab data. Again, I told you it's my favorite thing up here.